Hi, my name is Reed Wilson. After my father died from diabetes, it became the main focus throughout my career as a medical researcher. I'm going to share the 5 reasons thousands of people just like you have been able to naturally reverse their diabetes. Even though this may sound impossible right this moment, after you hear everything I have to share, like thousands of deeply grateful people have before you, your doctor, friends, and family will be shocked at the staggering recovery your body goes through. How fasting blood sugar readings of 300, 400, and even 500 return to normal, how your medications and insulin doses can be drastically reduced, and in many cases, eliminated sooner than they ever imagined, and how you can say goodbye to endless worrying over meal plans, carbohydrate counting, finger stick checks, pills, injections, lab tests, prescriptions, supplies, and doctor's appointments. But before you see how they are doing it, I ask that you set aside your disbelief, because the steps they took challenge everything we're told about treating diabetes today. Reason number 1, they exercise less. Yes, that's right. Even though their doctors told them they have to start exercising to lose weight, I told them that different people react to exercise in different ways. Most people who are overweight and diagnosed with diabetes will actually spike their blood sugar and make their diabetes worse if they exercise too much. With the right kind of exercise, done for the right length of time, like the kind that the University of Virginia and Ohio State University tested, and found decreases A1C by up to 27%, drops inflammation by 41%, and lowered cholesterol by 20%. They are going to start waking up to lower and lower fasting glucose readings, and will be more likely to keep doing it. Reason number 2, they ate a lot more carbs. Yeah, I know, when you're diabetic, carbs are the enemy. At least that's what they want you to believe. Well, that is false. Some carbs are bad, but other kinds of carbs are not only good for diabetics, they can actually help reverse it. Like the smart carbs that shocked researchers at Duke University when they reduced and completely eliminated the need for diabetic medications. These are just one of the many different types of carbs that have been proven to improve blood sugar and insulin production. Reason number 3, they stopped trying to lose weight. One of the first things a doctor will tell you once you're diagnosed with diabetes is you need to lose weight. One of the biggest myths alive is that obesity, or excess weight, is the primary cause of type 2 diabetes. In a landmark study at UCLA, researchers were shocked to find that patients reversed their type 2 diabetes without losing a significant amount of weight. Many of them were even clinically obese when they reversed their diabetes. Reason number 4, they stopped treating their diabetes as a genetic or hereditary condition. Sure, their parents had it, and their uncles and aunts have it, and maybe their poodle has it. But diabetes is not, I repeat, not hereditary. Japan has long been a shining example of optimum health, low rates of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and virtually non-existent incidence of diabetes. Yet, a study at University of Washington revealed that Japanese who immigrated to the U.S. saw their rates of type 2 diabetes go up by a staggering 400%. Yet by focusing on the true cause of their diabetes, which I'll reveal, anyone from any race can manage or reverse their diabetes. Reason 5, they focused all their efforts at attacking the true source of diabetes. Diabetes is now a global epidemic, and there are no signs of slowing down. If you already have been diagnosed with diabetes, you are already feeling the threat of it getting worse, or worried about diabetes cousins, heart disease, blindness, diabetic neuropathy, amputation, and impotence. If $300 billion a year is now spent on studying, diagnosing, and treating this disease, and all we hear from doctors is there's nothing you can do but manage it, or we have to start you on medication, you may be wondering if the experts are more interested in managing your symptoms than finding the true source of diabetes and reversing it. I think you couldn't be more correct. You see, the truth is that your body already has the natural ability to normalize your blood sugar and regulate your insulin. In fact, your body is trying to do it every minute of the day. It's even trying to do it right now. And anyone can release this miraculous healing force within your body by attacking the true underlying root cause of your diabetes. In fact, after uncovering over hundreds of documented clinical studies dating back over a decade, there is a simple fact that, once we accept it, will allow you to open the door to dramatically reducing or eliminating your type 2 diabetes. But not only that, because this hidden root cause of diabetes is so fundamental and operates at a deep cellular level, it can also dramatically improve high blood pressure, arthritis, cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, and all the risk factors connected with diabetes. What's this hidden menace stalking millions of Americans today? It's called cytokine storm. It's a story that actually started several decades ago. Time and time again, scientists repeatedly noticed that people with type 2 diabetes were also heavily inflamed throughout their bodies. After studying the blood samples of thousands of diabetics, they saw that diabetic sufferers were inflamed because their body fluids were rife with inflammatory chemicals. These chemicals are called cytokines. Like a glaring road sign in a dark night, cytokines are the key indicator of how much inflammation a person's body has. That's because their main role within your body is to trigger inflammation. The more cytokines they can find in you, the more inflammation you're experiencing, whether you realize it's happening or whether you don't. Now, you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with my diabetes? Well, the magazine Scientific American explains it like this. In the early 1990s, researchers at Harvard University discovered one major source of diabetes called cytokines. They found high levels of cytokines in the fat tissue of rats with type 2 diabetes. And when they bred obese rats that could not make cytokine, diabetes did not develop in the animals. So to make that crystal clear, when cytokines didn't exist, diabetes did not exist. But what about humans, you ask? Well, it goes on to say, researchers have since shown that cytokines, and more generally inflammation, makes the human body less responsive to insulin and increases the risk for insulin resistance. Yet, this is just the beginning. That's because an inflammatory feedback loop is created. It's where inflammation, which is caused by the increase of cytokines, creates insulin resistance, and the insulin resistance, in turn, causes more cytokines to form. It's a vicious cycle that keeps the disease alive and Americans dependent on medication, insulin injections, and a constant threat of things getting far worse. H. Henry Dong and his colleagues at the University of Pittsburgh states, inflammation and insulin resistance reinforce each other via a positive feedback loop. Long story short, it's a deadly cycle of inflammation causing diabetes, and diabetes turning around and fueling inflammation. It's a perpetual cycle, but that's not all. If you look at this video, it is a perfect picture of the chain reaction that cytokines create in your body. You see, cytokines trigger other cytokines to activate and inflame your cells. A constant chain reaction occurs and self-perpetuates, making you a slave to diabetic treatment. This is why I call it the cytokine storm. And when you have cytokines creating inflammation which causes insulin resistance, and insulin resistance causes more cytokines to form, and when they act like ping pong balls in that little video above, is it any wonder that it's the greatest threat to our lives today, where those who have this plague have up to 400% greater chance of heart attack or stroke, where heart disease and stroke cause about 65% of deaths among people with diabetes, where 84,000 people have diabetes-related leg and foot amputations each year, where 38,000 people with diabetes develop kidney failure each year, where each year 12,000 to 24,000 people become blind because of diabetic eye disease, including diabetic retinopathy, where 70% of adult males with diabetes currently suffer or will experience sexual impotence. As you now know, when you attack inflammation, your body regains its ability to normalize its own blood sugar. You don't have to be chained to medication, injections, blood sugar monitors, and you don't have to watch your diet like a hawk for the rest of your life. Many studies from all parts of the globe are proving that reducing inflammation is the key to reversing your diabetes if you're a type 2. One of those landmark studies was done at none other than UCLA. The UCLA study found that a staggering 71% of type 2 non-insulin dependent patients were able to completely stop taking their medication and reverse their diabetes in just 3 weeks by using a simple, inexpensive, utterly safe, non-drug approach. In addition to that, all the participants found their high blood pressure moving to normal ranges. In fact, 34% had their medication discontinued. It didn't end there. Their cholesterol levels plummeted by 22%. Now, that's just one study. The more I researched, the longer the list got. The esteemed American Journal of Clinical Nutrition published a study where diabetics were able to reduce their insulin by a whopping 57%. And that occurred in just over 2 weeks. And there's the University of Kentucky Metabolic Research Group. In this study, 96% of type 2 diabetics were able to completely stop all insulin injections. After reducing their inflammation levels, 81% of patients in a study done at Loma Linda University eliminated the torture of their diabetic neuropathy. A diabetic expert named Dr. Fedon Lindbergh, who focuses on treating diabetes with nutrition, is quoted as saying, "Patients who were injecting high doses of insulin, as many as 200 units daily, have managed to quit insulin and come off medications for blood pressure and other conditions." I could go on all day. What's important to know right now is that diabetes is connected to many other horrific illnesses and diseases, many of which can be fatal, if not extremely painful. Heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney failure, blindness caused by retinal neuropathy, limb amputations caused by diabetic neuropathy. Diabetes is the gateway disease to all of them. So when you start to reverse or severely reduce your diabetes condition, especially with the methods you're about to hear, you do the same for many other devastating illnesses as well. Respected institutions like the University of Oxford and the National Institute for Public Health have found that reducing high levels of inflammation also reduces your risk of cancer by an incredible 67%, reduces cholesterol